All right, so my honorable mention is the forever classic Velocipaster.
I can't stand you.
Oh, man. You like that movie?
It's a great one.
I'm just going to read you the brief synopsis from IMDb.
I'd actually love to hear it.
And then I'll elaborate a bit.
Okay.
After losing his parents, a priest travels to China, where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. At first horrified by this new power, a hooker convinces him to use it to fight crime and ninjas.
And
Let me tell you guys about this movie. At the beginning of the movie, the main character in the movie is giving a sermon. He's a priest. He's in a Catholic church. He's giving a sermon. He walks out of, and the thing is, in the very, very, very beginning, so the first 30 seconds of the movie, as he's giving this obviously very heartfelt sermon, you're watching it and you're thinking, maybe this won't be so bad. The very next scene, he steps outside and the camera pans to the street. Reese can't help it. Where it shows an older couple having a very animated, clearly we're terrible actors kind of off the microphone convo, right? So you can't hear them.
yeah.
And then it pans back to the priest. He's on the steps of the church, and he's just like, Mom, Dad! And he gives this ridiculous wave. His parents turn around and look at him. They smile and wave back. And then it pans back to the priest. You hear an explosion. And then this is when I knew I had gone off the rails, okay? Because it pans back to where the parents were on the street. They're gone. There's nothing there. It's just the view of the street.
Yeah.
And then on the screen, it just says the words VFX, visual effects. Yeah. So they didn't even put in the visual effect of the car exploding. It just says that there's meant to be a visual effect here.
You just have to imagine it.
That's it. So
legendary. How to save on money, but also be comedic.
Correct. So his parents obviously perished in this visual effect that you have to imagine yourself.
Sure.
And he goes to his mentor, another priest, who he kind of rooms with at this Catholic church, and he's super sad about it. His parents just died, and the priest says, "You should travel, right? You need to get out of here. You need to go clear your head." And he's like, "Where would I even go?" And his mentor tells him, "Go where you think God isn't." And if you find him there, or if he follows you there, it means that he's inside you, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So sage-like advice, right?
I think so.
So then the very next scene is him walking through woods that just looks like he's in the Smoky Mountains, but it says on the screen, China. But it gets better. Oh, it gets better.
You see some dude in the background
Because then
with some cargo shorts on.
Because then the camera immediately goes up to his face, and then he says, China. That's it. So they wanted to really hit that point home.
For sure.
He's in China.
Yeah.
Fast forward about 20
A place
seconds.
where God isn't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
Well, that's where Buddha's at.
We want to make
Yeah,
sure you
that's
know
true.
that's what we meant.
so then you see a young Chinese woman running through the forest. She's wearing a white karate gi.
Yeah.
And a ninja comes out from behind a tree
Yeah.
and shoots her with an arrow,
Of course.
yeah.
right through the chest cavity.
Oh, yeah.
And she happens to make it far enough in the woods to stumble across the priest.
Yeah.
And she falls in front of him. She starts speaking to him in Mandarin, Chinese, whatever Asian dialect she's speaking to him in. And
He understands
he's
it,
like,
though.
no.
Oh, he doesn't?
He says, I don't understand. and then she holds up what is obviously the fakest looking dinosaur claw of all time and hands it to him. And he's like, you want me to take this? And he takes it. She dies. Okay. He then spots the ninja. He goes to try to escape, and while escaping, he cuts his hand with the dinosaur claw.
That's how it happens.
Boom.
So I can become a dinosaur if I just cut my
Instant
hand with a dinosaur
dinosaur.
claw?
If you find a petrified velociraptor claw.
And you also have a fatty tumor named Timmy on your back.
So he then blacks out and then wakes up back in the Catholic Church that he gives sermons in, that he preaches in.
Yeah.
And his mentor's sitting next to him on the bed, and he's like, I had a crazy dream, or like this really terrible dream, or whatever. Then he meets the hooker.
Again.
How?
Different hooker.
Same hooker.
Oh.
Meets the only hooker
Right.
in the movie.
Okay.
They fall in love
Well, yeah.
because he rescues her
Sure.
from a guy in the park that's trying to like mug her.
I'm going to save her from
When
the
does he
streets.
turn into...
He's getting to that.
The first time we see him turn into the dinosaur,
Okay.
It wasn't like mid-climax, was it?
his eventual love interest, the hooker, is being mugged in a park.
Yeah.
He spots this happening
Oh, no, gotta save
and
the
then
hooker.
turns into what is not a velociraptor, by the way.
Right.
It's called Velocipaster. Make an effort. It is literally just a dude in a super fake dinosaur suit. It's not
Like one of them blow-up ones?
It is a T-Rex.
Oh, my God.
It's like clearly this is a T-Rex suit.
Right.
Not a velociraptor, you absolute waste of space. He kills the mugger.
Okay.
She's like, you saved my life. That was God's work you're doing. You couldn't be doing God's work in any other way than this.
He can get that from anybody but the hooker.
It's got to be the hook.
Yeah.
So she then convinces him to just start going on a killing spree, but only killing bad people. And he's like, that makes total sense.
Velocipastoring.
You got to go out and do some velocipastering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the Dexter of...
He's like the Dexter of
Hey,
velocipasters.
You know,
yeah.
you know what his motto? Sometimes you got to thin the herd, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And fast forward a little bit, he and the hooker are falling in love. He's just randomly killing people. They find out that there is this Christian organization in China that is a bunch of ninjas.
So he didn't go where God wasn't.
And the ninjas
Yeah, he's in China.
are producing pure cocaine.
why not?
The Christian ninjas.
Yeah.
Why not?
And the only thing that the Christian ninjas fear
The Christian ninjas.
is the dragon lord or something like that, is what they refer to anyone that has been cut by this claw and turns into this
To the
dinosaur.
A very natural fear. I
The
get it.
Camelsaurus Rex.
Correct. So they're producing this cocaine because ultimately their plan is to distribute the cocaine all throughout the United States.
Yeah.
And then when people become super hooked on it, they then pull it, and they'll have no choice but to go to like a hope house where they can spread the message of God to them and turn them into Christians. Well, obviously this priest has a big problem with that because he's like, you can't just force people. So they travel to China. He
Again.
and the hooker,
What is it with China?
which by the way, the hooker just knows martial arts. Like
By the way.
extremely well.
Yeah.
She's just kicking ninjas' asses along the Velocipaster. But the best scene in the entire movie is you find out he has a brother that's never been brought up in the movie ever before.
But why would he?
And earlier in the movie, the priest has flashbacks to him having conversations with his parents because he's like, what would my parents think of what I'm doing? And he has flashbacks. And in one of the flashbacks, the father and the priest are in the car.
Okay.
And he says to him, the father says to him, I'm always proud of you. You're my only son. So that at the end, when they get to the ninja camp, one of the ninjas pulls off his face mask and he's like, you remember me. And it's his brother
Oh.
And then it flashes back to the same scene in the car with the dad, and the dad says, "I'll always be proud of you. You're my only son."
And the brother-
And then all of a sudden, the brother just rises up from the back seat. He's in there the whole time.
Dude, hold on. That is the
They thought he was on
greatest
vacation.
thing. That is the greatest thing I've ever heard.
They're like driving to like Florida, and they think he's sleeping in the back seat.
You see, he just like rises up and gives this like evil look to his brother.
Yeah. That's how it became bad.
yeah.
The best scene, though, in the entire movie is the very next scene, which is all the ninjas attempt to attack him and the hooker, and they fight off the ninjas.
Yeah.
But the hooker gets cut with a blade, a sword,
So then she turns into
like a
ninja?
samurai sword across the chest, and then there's this whole scene where she's dying and he's upset that she's dying, and then she dies, and he gets pissed off and then turns into the dinosaur. But this is the first part of the movie where you get to see the dinosaur in its full like scope. So it is like the worst Halloween costume ever made, T-Rex dinosaur. And he fights kung fu style in the suit
With his
against
tiny arms?
the ninjas and kicks all their asses
Yeah.
and rips the main guy's head off. Okay?
That part.
Barney goes wild.
Rips the main guy's head off.
His head. His freaking head.
And it's just a mannequin head.
It's like they ran it from Sears.
It's the worst thing ever, dude.
Reese, what?
It's like they rented it from Sears.
Dude, it looks like a mannequin head from Sears, and they just put like the most like stereotypical like Asian face on
They
it,
put,
which
like-
is ridiculous.
like Eugene Levy eyebrows
Yeah, it was
on it.
for sure Eugene Levy eyebrows.
And a long mustache.
And so he kills the main guy, and you think the movie's over from there, right? You're like, the movie's over. But cut scene,
It's not.
Wait,
flat,
there's more.
cut scene, flash to, he's in a hospital in a waiting room, and the doctor walks in, and he looks up at the doctor, and the doctor's like, the hooker. He calls her by her name. I don't remember what her name was. Very
So
forgettable.
It would have been
Stacy.
better if he
But
just
he's
come
basically-
in the hooker.
He's basically just like, she's totally fine.
Yeah.
So she dies in China,
Right.
but somehow, so he's like, can I see her? And he's like, the doctor's like, I think that would be a good idea. Meanwhile, while he's talking to him, the doctor grabs an ashtray off a table next and pulls out the butt of a cigarette that someone's put out and just starts smoking it while he's hanging out talking to the dude. It's like smoking somebody else's cigarette butt.
You got to do what you got to do.
And
Yeah.
so he goes into the room and he sees her and he asks her, he's like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. And he's like, but you go, and he's like trying to say, like, you died. You got, how are you? And she stops him and she goes, shh. And he leans in and she goes, I'm fine. That's the end of the fucking movie.
Powerful.
It's moving.
I'm
Yeah.
moved.
Powerful words have not been spoken on this show.
So
I am telling you guys, if you didn't watch it this week, Amazon, it's on there. It's free. Go check out Velocipaster. It is only an hour and 10 minutes of your life.
And it's worth it.
And
It's
it is
worth every
worth
minute.
every
Or
single second.
The way he
Or-
laid it out, it sounds like it's like similar to Kung Pao. Have you ever seen that?
No.
No, it's not similar to that because that movie's hilarious.
No. I mean like how Kung Pao did the crappy special effects on purpose. They accidentally did it in this movie.
Yeah, these were this.
Oh no, this was Ford.
Yeah. It's a shit show from beginning to end.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for this episode.
Well, never mind.
What? Why?
No, I thought we were gonna rank them.
What? Why?
I
That one, Velocipaster clearly wins.
not
I
them.
just-
that's it.
Our list, but all right.
Yeah, there's no competition there. Like Rubber, it's up there for me. But if we're talking about stupid movies,
Velocipaster wins it.
Velocipaster, and I've seen it, so
It's so bad, dude.
and I love it. I think it's great.
Well,
It's-
that's what I'm saying is it's so bad that it's good
it's cinematic
because you're just laughing
masterpiece.
your ass off the entire time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this long episode of our favorite worst movies ever.